Welcome back to VMC 2021, Sustainability Through Innovation. I hope you had a chance to do a few emails, make a cup of coffee, and you're ready for our next session. Before I introduce Andrew Hawken, I'm going to thank Daryl Danieli and the panelists who just did that fantastic discussion defining sustainability and posing a few questions about what's coming up in the conference over the next few days. It wasn't deliberately seeded in the conversation, but what came out towards the end of that discussion was a question about, was there a future for virtual reality? How are we going to do business online and offline? And thank you, because that is the perfect segue for me to introduce Andrew Hawken, the co-founder of, Andrew Hawken, the co-founder of Mesmerise. Now, Andrew started his career as a current affairs journalist with the BBC, but he got better and he left and he went to work for Microsoft. And in 1996, he began at a very early stage to start looking at UX platforms. And having witnessed the development of the new medium, he began to focus his attention on the emerging technologies, such as virtual reality. And I think he and I were probably doing something about the same time. I remember in 1996, I had a video conference machine made by Olivetti, which had all the functionality that we've got today. The only problem was there were only 5 in the country, and it got a bit boring talking to the same people all the time. Now we've got what's called an established critical mass, an established base to be able to do these things. So Andrew then went on to form Gatherings in 2020, which is really one of the most exciting expressions that I've seen about how you can take meetings into a virtual space. He will tell you more eloquently than I will, and he will demonstrate with some video to give us an insight into that. So without further ado, can I introduce you to Andrew Hawken, co-founder of Mesmerise.
Hey, great to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation. Delighted to be here to talk to you. So I think I wanted to just expand a little bit on that sort of career path, because I think it has some real interesting implications for the future of media, gatherings, meetings, work. There's a whole range of really interesting implications that are playing out for us at the moment. So one of the key moments in my career was when I decided to leave the BBC. So why I kind of focus on that is it is such a parallel to what I think is going on now. So in '96, I'd been on the Today program for 10 years and had a great career in the BBC. Felt like that would be my home for potentially the whole of my career. But then I got this sense of, this internet was really starting, and I left before the BBC even had a website to join Microsoft, which was a massive culture shift. And then over the next 10 years, really went through that extraordinary transformation from, I remember all the jokes about, dial-up modems and 28.8 dial-up and all that stuff, through, essentially an extraordinary rise, and the internet has just come to dominate almost every aspect of our lives. So after I'd done 10 years at Microsoft, I did 10 years at Sky. And in 2016, I just had the same sensation about a technology that was going to revolutionize many aspects of our lives. So part of my role at Sky was to really do all the strategic partnerships with the big tech players. And because I lived on the West Coast, I'd spent time 5 years in Seattle. I was really dealing with Google, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, and I could really see the level of investment they were putting into VR and AR. And I really decided, I enjoyed so much being at the birth of this new medium in '96. I wanted to replay that again and do it again. And I really felt that the implications of this would be very far reaching. And this time, as opposed to working in an organization with 30, 50, 100,000 people, I thought I met my co-founder and we decided to launch the company together. So that's really what was behind it. So just to give you a sense of how fast things have moved since 2016. So it was actually my 5-year anniversary, I think, yesterday, since forming the company. So just in terms of the hardware, because that's a big part of what this is about. Not everyone has got an Oculus Quest device or a standalone headset in the same way they do as they have a mobile phone or a tablet or a laptop. But just to say, the form factor has changed dramatically in 4 years. So when I first started the company, we were looking at probably £4,500 in order to experience VR. You needed an incredibly powerful gaming spec laptop, an expensive headset that has wires, connectors, sensors, and that was just to get you started in the VR experience. So then you go just literally 4 years, and now we have the Oculus Quest 2 headset. So Facebook bought Oculus, and they've done a pretty amazing job at looking at all of the pain points and coming up with a headset that is £299 or dollars, completely standalone. You don't need a laptop, you just need an internet connection, a phone application, controllers, and you've got everything you need for a compelling VR experience. So that form factor change, I see that very much as part of a continuum. So I'm sure that in 3 or 4 years, we'll look back at these VR headsets and think they were like the car phones, so the mobile phones the size of suitcases, if you remember those days. So there's no doubt in my mind that the big tech players are committed to VR and AR. You've seen from Mark Zuckerberg, this is the next computing platform. And I think that is very, very viable now. There have been various points when when I started the company, it's like, have I made the wrong bet? Is this really going to happen? But actually now it's really got critical mass, and we now have headsets that are portable, powerful, and the price has dropped dramatically. And that's going to go in one direction. So we're already seeing a number of other untethered headsets. That makes a huge difference to the experience. When you're tethered to a computer, you are constrained. When you have an untethered device, you feel very different. So that really is an important factor. So I believe the technology is going to drive hard, and we're all waiting to see what Apple does. There's going to be more and more announcements in terms of the form factor. So I believe that is on a road to success. So in terms of the experience, the reason that I'm so excited about VR is that it gives you this real sense of co-presence. You can be apart. So we could be in New York, Los Angeles, Shanghai, London. We're thousands of miles apart. But in VR, you have this sense of co-presence. So you are in the same environment at the same time, and it feels like you're together. And that has really significant consequences. So there were two big accelerating factors. One was the form factor, and then clearly there was the pandemic and what that did to interest in this technology, as people couldn't fly, wouldn't fly, were not able to go to work in the same way. And that really accelerated all kinds of developments. And my belief is that, we're just not going to go back to the way we were before. And that, hybrid working is here to stay. And there are many advantages, some disadvantages, but VR could play a big role in giving you the sense of co-presence. I think events, look at this event now, we're doing this in a very different way. And I think, events, again, I believe will be different. They will become hybrid. There will be physical events, 2D events, VR events that all work together. So you can choose how you want to attend. So I think that is, again, really significant change, what that's done. So in terms of the advantages of virtual reality, I think the one is a sense of co-presence. So you feel like you're in the same place, even while apart, in a way that you can't really achieve in 2D. So, it's great to be here, but I feel very much I'm in my room, I'm talking to my computer, essentially. in VR, we were meeting in VR, we'd be forming into little groups. There'd be spatial audio. So it feels like we're talking. If someone speaks to you from the right, you turn, people form semicircles, they're much more expressive with their hands. So there's a real sense of co-presence. One of the other key ones is this sense of undivided attention. So I'm sure many of you are probably multitasking right now. So you're looking at email, maybe there's something going on with your phone. You are hopefully listening, but you're probably doing lots of other stuff as well. And that's, exactly the way that I live my life as well. So in VR, you're making a conscious decision to enter VR, and you can't really multitask. You are committed, you've got the headset on, you're in that experience, and your attention is undivided. So one of the key things that we came up with the name Mesmerise was essentially this idea of capturing someone's attention so completely they couldn't really think of anything else. So that was the kind of one of the key promises, which is this undivided attention of the experience. The other one is actually what we're calling making the impossible possible. So we could stage a meeting, we could stage a gathering, a conference, and we can set it anywhere. We can have the most elaborate building, the perfect meeting space. You look out the window, it could be Shanghai, or it could be New York, it could be in the desert, and we can create that environment to give the most chance of success. So that real sense of making the impossible possible is a key thing that we're doing. So within that, there's lots of building blocks to get right. So avatars is a key one. So how you turn up in VR, are you recognizable? So there's lots of different schools of thought. One is a cartoon avatar, which you create your avatar. We've really gone for the idea that we want you to be recognizable. So we start with an image, and then from that we create the avatar. So that's one of the key things. And then I'll just give you a little bit of context of the kind of events that we're staging. So we're about to run the Morningstar Investment Conference tomorrow in Chicago. So it's a hybrid digital and VR event. It's a 3-day event in that we are streaming live talks, presentations, but you're watching in a theater environment in VR with other people. So you're watching it synchronously with other people. Then there are networking groups, so you can break out into networking environments. There are sponsor booths. There are a whole range of kind of features that really take advantage of the power of VR. So I've spoken quite a long time now, so I think it would be good maybe just to show you a video of what this is like. This is as close as you can get to being in a headset to show what it's like, but it doesn't really replace it. But I think it's worth showing the video now, please.
So here we are in virtual reality. So we're using Oculus Quest 2 headsets, and they are a major advance in the technology. And then I'm joined by Danny, who's our head of business operations. Hi. And by Justin, our business development director. Hi there. So where we are at the moment is the executive suite lobby. So this is an environment that we can use for 30 to 40 people. And this is a great networking space. I'll just show you some of the features. So if you come down here. So here we just have an amazing view of Montenegro. And this background can be completely configurable. So this could be the Sahara, could be New York, could be Shanghai. All this is completely configurable. So it gives you the sense of different locations. A couple of other things to talk about here. One is that the avatars are recognizable. So we wanted them to be immediately recognizable. And if we kind of go this way, we use a lot of spatial audio here. And that means that when someone speaks to you, so if Danny speaks to me now, it'll feel like she's speaking to me from where she is. And then if I hear from Justin.
I'm just over here, right next to you.
So it really feels like real life in the sense of the audio comes from the direction that you are receiving it from. And then if you come over here, we've got kind of breakout spaces for conversation. So in this environment, you can have private conversations. So again, with the spatial audio, it means that anyone on the other side of the room can't hear you. So you can have good kind of normal conversations in the way you would have. And then what we see is that people arrange themselves in groups. So as opposed to looking at a 2D, everyone looking at you, you're looking around at people as they speak, and it feels much more kind of co-present, feels like we're in the same space. Whereas Danny is nowhere near me. You're in Buckinghamshire.
I'm in Buckinghamshire, yeah.
Where are you, Justin?
I'm all the way down in Kent.
And I'm in South London. But when we do this, we often have people from Seattle, from New York,
Australia,
from Washington, DC, from Australia.
Yeah.
And it feels like you're inhabiting the same environment. So this is the kind of executive suite. And then I'll take you to one of the presentation rooms. So if you just follow me. So through this door, we go to one of our presentation rooms. So please follow me there.
So this is the presentation room. And you can see we've got Montenegro in the background here. If you'd like to come a little bit closer, and we can show you that view. Again, as Andrew said, that's fully customizable.
And then we can bring up presentations. So this is the kind of environment you would have for a normal kind of an all hands meeting. So if I go over to the deck, and I bring up welcome to gatherings, and then I can go through various slides. And again, we're in the same environment. Everyone can talk and interact.
So myself and Danny are just sitting in the audience here, enjoying not just an amazing view, but a great presentation.
Great. So we also have rooms that are really looked for, that we're aimed at small breakout groups. So if we go to breakout room 1 using the menu. This is a very different kind of space. So this is really aimed at small groups, more for brainstorming, one-to-ones. And again, you have a pretty amazing view. So this is actually Hong Kong. And then you can take a seat. Yes, these environments work really well for sort of small conversations. And again, you can be anywhere in the world, but be in the same place. And then we're just going to give you a sneak peek of the one of the big events that we're running. And so should we meet in the plaza?
Yeah.
Great.
The Morningstar Investment Conference Event Plaza. This is the welcome area for everybody attending the Morningstar Investment Conference virtual reality ticket. So you can see on your left and right, we've got a couple of helpful tips and tricks on posters. And then we've got the full setup. We've got maps, schedule, welcome videos, and off to either side are loads of different spaces for you to interact with. So we have an on-demand space where you can engage with content, themed conversation spaces based on ESG or financial planning. There are sponsor booths, so you can go and meet the sponsors for the event, engage with their content, have a one-to-one meeting in those spaces as well. And then the main event is just on the other side. You can see through the circle there, which are the live theatres. So there'll be live streamed keynotes in virtual reality as well.
Take a wander down there.
Quite a good view in these seats as well of the conference. And if we
Andrew, this is a live 3-day conference, isn't it, coming up? I mean, this starts a bit later than just this week.
Correct. Yeah. 3 days of live talks and panels, sponsors, delegates. There's going to be 250 people using this event.
And as well as the live experience for people who want to virtually travel, it's also available on demand after the event as well. So you can jump back in if you want to enjoy sessions that you weren't able to attend at the time.
Yeah, exactly. So it's available until the 24th of October.
Great. So that's a quick tour of gatherings, and I'll see you now back in Hawken.
Okay, well, I hope that gave you a sense of it. You clearly, the real experience is in the headset, but I hope you got a good sense of it within the video. And then clearly, this, in terms of sustainability, that's a key part of this. For when you try to think about traveling to events and the cost of that, with essentially a £299 headset, you can attend that without actually going there. So I think there's a big sustainability angle to this, and we've also done a lot of work with Morningstar around ESG ratings. When that was a VR experience that actually really demonstrated the consequences of decisions over a 40-year time horizon. So you played the character of a mayor trying to rescue a city that's in trouble, and you have to make all kinds of decisions, and you make your decisions based on ESG ratings, revenue, etc., and then you see what are the consequences out over a 40-year time horizon. So there's some really big sustainability angles to this.
And that's been developed for that particular project, or is that available more widely?
That was built for the Morningstar conference. Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that's always intrigued me about the experience is the fact that I wonder whether we're going to finish up with some kind of a battle, a bit like VHS and Betamax, between headsets and compatible technologies. Do you see this being a barrier to the future development of the VR?
So I think there's definitely going to be competition. So there's no doubt, if you look at the big players right now, so Facebook are all in with the Quest. So they have a hardware solution, they have an ecosystem for applications. So they are very committed. There are other headsets. There's one called Neo 3 from Pico, which is actually the company's just been bought by the owners of TikTok. HTC are also have wireless headsets, HP. So there's definitely, and then we're going to see an Apple headset, no doubt. So there will definitely be competition between their headsets, no doubt about it. And then it remains to be seen how that plays out. I mean, a lot of them will use the same technology, but they probably won't be interoperable. So if you have a Quest device, you'll be in that ecosystem and the same. So there will definitely be those kind of issues. But I think right now the competition is good. We want more and more innovation in headsets because we're not at anywhere near where these headsets are gonna go.
Yeah, I think that's quite an interesting point, and I hope it doesn't become too much of a conflict. Competition is fine as long as it doesn't emerge into conflict.
Yeah,
I've seen quite a lot of development in the last few months with the recognizable features in the avatars. One of the things that was a question earlier on was, at what point do you think you might get lip sync, and is there a possibility of the avatars becoming full-bodied rather than a torso? I find the hands a little bit disturbing, the way that they're disconnected at the moment.
Yes, and again, I think it's only when you're in VR that you see that. Really, it's quite hard when you see it in video to get the sense of it. So I think definitely we will get to full body avatars. I think we're at the sort of limits of what's actually possible at the moment. We'll get to full body avatars. I think arms and hands. One of the challenges is that the way the controllers work right now, you can end up with quite off-putting angles for the arms. So that's one thing that's being worked on. So yes, we will. And then lip syncing, yes, definitely. Lip syncing and expression for the avatars. Yeah, we're working on that already. And lip syncing is very close. So at that point, yeah, the avatar will move.
Take you to the next stage where you might be looking at motion capture, and is the technology in motion capture getting to the point where you don't need to wear a suit with marker points on it, but it will actually follow somebody as replicating their movements?
Yes, potentially. I mean, I think that's, so we haven't really done much in motion capture. I mean, it's a very specialized field. So, but there is definitely advances now. So as you say, right now, the best way, you need a big rig and you need lots of things to be wearing to really get it. But there is definite developments now in terms of what you can do with the cameras to kind of make that a more economic, achievable prospect. But at the moment, I think the best way is through that sort of the rig, in order to get the real full movement of the capture. Yeah.
We've always tried to keep at the forefront of technology at the Visual Media Conference, and quite right to point out that you need a big rig to be able to do motion capture. 2 years ago, we transported a very dear friend of mine from Ravensbourne University into the Rose Bowl as a hologram.
Awesome.
And it was interesting as an experiment, but you wouldn't want it to be a kind of meeting. But it was a gimmicky demonstration, and I just feel that where we are with what you're doing with gatherings, you're really on the cusp of converting it from something that's kind of okay into believable. I think that's the point you're at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things we're really looking at is how do we make this a proper business tool? So one of our core beliefs, we're not trying to say you want to do everything in VR. We're not, saying do Word documents, do Excel spreadsheets. That's just simpler to do in 2D. But when you want to have the sense of co-presence be together, then that's where VR really plays. So our kind of vision of this is that, so on my desk here right now, I've got a kind of laptop, I've got a tablet, I've got 2 phones. I think you'll end up with a VR headset as part of that kit. And it's part of your working kind of life. So part of that is how do we get that to be incredibly seamless and frictionless, so that we could say, actually, when are we now meeting VR? And we can do that within 30 seconds or a minute. So that's part of our role, to make this into a seamless part of the business productivity toolkit.
I think that's absolutely crucial. And in a way, it's slightly ironic. And it just reminded me of what I said earlier about having the Olivetti desktop camera, the video conferencing all that time ago. Because at the moment, I've got Quest 2 headset and I can do some of the things that you've been doing, but there isn't an established base. So the number of opportunities are very limited. So in a way, that's a sort of reality check. On the other hand, going back to where we were 25 years ago, we would never have imagined that there would have been an install base that would allow us to do what we're doing now.
Well, exactly. I went through. Yes, I went through.
The reality will catch up with your vision. I think that's what will happen. So I think we've been
and we're certainly seeing business adopting it. I mean, that's the other key thing, is that as businesses adopt it and roll it out to their workforce, it becomes part of that IT provision.
Brilliant. Well, I think you've done an excellent job in giving us an insight, albeit through 2 dimensions, but we've seen 3 dimensions. We need to manage our time. Where can people go if they want to know more about it and see more of the information that you've got?
So we're actually in the Expo tab. So Mesmerise is part of the Expo tab in the navigation. So that's the right place to go.
Well, we have to do that. And can I thank you for the time and for, as it was Bill there, stunning, inspirational visit into another world. And another question that's just cropped up is, can you do the outside scenery for Sheffield as well as Montenegro Bay?
We can. No problem at all. Yeah,
well, we can definitely do that. That you've got a possible inquiry and a user there. So, Andrew, it's been a real pleasure, delight. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing Mesmerise with us. Stay and enjoy the rest of the conference. And can I encourage everybody to go and look into the exhibition tab to find out more about this amazing technology. Thank you, Andrew. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.